Thank you, Diana. And so this morning we have with us on our computers, Brenda Heldoorn, who is one of our practitioners here at the Center for Spiritual Living, Tahoe-Truckee. And Brenda today is going to speak to us. And I just am grateful to Brenda for being able to be here this morning, even though I know that she really wanted to be here in person. But, you know, like I said, thank goodness we're allowed to shift, that we do that, you know, that we have to kind of really stay flexible, go with the flow. And I'm sure it's going to be perfect no matter what. So let's just be grateful for Brenda joining with us this morning in her talk about peace. So thank you, Brenda.
Thank you, Nancy. And thank you, Colleen, for getting the word out. And thank you, Diana, for pulling us all together. It's just extraordinary. And I just, a little special thank you to Colleen. I don't think you were with us when we were trying to sort of walk through how to get the worksheet, and we were scanning through the constant contact. And I just want to say you do an amazing job with that constant contact. Number one, the link works. Wonders never cease. And the other thing is just those graphics that you find for the newsletter are just hilarious. That little couch with all the critters on it, it just makes you want to read the whole thing, top to bottom. So thank you, Colleen, for everything that you do. It's just wonderful in support of our community. So welcome everyone this morning, as we're all warm and cozy in our homes, and none of us had to, you know, brave the elements to get to the center this morning. And Nancy was right. I really was looking forward to doing this process in person, just because I recognize the connection you feel when you're all together in a room. And there's a synergy, there's an energy, there's a glow, and there's a warmth. But Nancy led us in a meditation this morning. If you were joining us, you'll know, where we were focusing on our spiritual eye, that third eye that's here. And as I was breathing into that space, and I realized we're all connected. There is no requirement for necessarily proximity. Although I do love holding your hands and seeing your faces up close. But so we've been talking since the beginning of this series about how peace begins within. It's so easy to become hopeless and overwhelmed when we witness global events, local events in some cases, that are heartbreaking. And yet, we know that peace begins within our own hearts, and that as we cultivate peace and loving kindness, that expands exponentially, and it touches people that we have in ways that we never have any idea of. And so this year, my typical spiritual practice begins with some sacred reading. And last year I read through the 365 Days of Richer Living, which I think most of us are really familiar with. And it was wonderful. And I thought, well, this year I'm gonna switch it up. And this year my daily reading is going to start with the 365 Days of Science of Mind. Oh no, I'm blurred, so you can't see this. There it is, kind of. Anyway, it always amazes me when whatever it is that's on my mind and whatever I'm planning on talking about or doing, I keep getting, little pearls of wisdom just kind of drop into my lap, and I'm not even looking for it, but it's perfect. And Nancy's reading from Maria Shriver's book this morning was just perfect. And Ernest Holmes this morning, on the 7th of January, which is today, I will read the entire thing, but I think it's absolutely in support of everything that we're doing. So, letting our faith be of God's presence and power, we can each say, all that I am and all that I do is the divine presence expressing itself through me. The thoughts I think and the words I speak are life and truth because God speaks them through me. Of myself, I give no authority to my prayer, but the child of God in me knows that the authority of the Almighty brings to pass the words that I speak. I speak the word of health for my body, my feelings, and my thoughts, knowing that the Father within is the power that brings this wholeness into complete being. I speak the word of divine guidance, and the wisdom the universe wells up as a beacon to lead me into paths of right useness, to make straight and clear my everyday paths. I speak the word of joy, and the Father within me frees me from loneliness and sadness. I speak the word of peace to the world and know that the peace of God reaches into the hearts and minds of the people of all nations. So, thank you, Ernest Holmes, for being in connection with me today. Recognizing that, as we come together in community, our purpose is to cultivate peace, to cultivate joy and love and wholeness and oneness, the oneness of the infinite field of potentiality brings us all together. And so thank you, Ernest, for that. So most of us are familiar with, this is the first Sunday, by the way, of January, even though it's already the 7th, but it is the very first Sunday of the new year. And most of us are familiar with some of the rituals that we like to do in spiritual community, and that can usually include dream boards, vision boards, soul collages, and all of those sorts of activities, which are wonderful. That's something very fun about sitting down with a big piece of poster board and a glue stick and a pile of magazines and looking through magazines and cutting out images of the kinds of things that we would like to experience this year. And it helps us get clear about our intentions and what the possibilities might be for the coming year and all of that. So I know that most of us have all been through those sorts of processes at one time or another, and we really enjoy them and we find them really useful. But that's not what we're doing here today. And primarily because those kinds of activities are more outwardly focused. They're focused on what's going out there in the world of effects. And today, I wanted to share a process that is more concerned with what's going on in our interior. But before we get into that, the other part of starting the new year that I think is really helpful and powerful is to review what it is we believe. And So I asked, let's see here, Diana, were you able to get a slide up there of the what we believe? Okay, thank you. Yeah, see, this team is just amazing. I'm so blessed. So at the beginning of the year, I thought it would be a good idea to really kind of dig into this idea. And also, I want to remind us that our format is a little bit different. I'm not here necessarily just to be a speaker and to talk to everyone while you stay muted and quietly listen. I invite you to unmute yourself. And if anything, we'll take these one by one. But if anybody would like to expand on, illuminate, or if you have a question about any of these statements of what it is that we believe as a community, please chime in, because this is an interactive dialogue. So I'll begin with, we believe in God, the living Spirit Almighty, one, indestructible, absolute, and self-existent cause. This one manifests itself in and through all creation, but it is not absorbed by its creation. The manifest universe is the body of God. It is the logical and necessary outcome of the infinite self-knowingness of God. Everybody on board with this one? Questions? Comments? I will just say that as a student of A Course in Miracles, this is one of the ones that I did struggle with a little bit. You know, when I first encountered the Course in Miracles, and I felt that there was a conflict here. And I have since come to recognize that there is no conflict. But this idea that the manifest universe is the body of God. And so you could look out at some of the things that are going on in our manifest universe, and you could possibly see that, you know, there is something less than perfection here. However, when one looks out at the manifest universe through the spiritual eye and can see past the appearances, that it is indeed perfect. Okay, hearing no questions or comments, I'll move on to the second. We believe in the individualization of the spirit in us, and that all people are individualizations of the one spirit. So we state that we believe this. If we really truly believe this, we would only experience peace. Because if all people are the individualizations of the one spirit, then we see the oneness in our brothers and sisters, and there is no other.
Hey, Brenda.
Yeah.
Can we take this and go back to the first one and kind of marry them together and talk about how in your mind you reconcile the appearances of what we may consider to be non-perfection, all the war and strife and struggle that we see going on in the world today. Your personal.
Yeah. Oh, my personal,
Mhm.
the way I personally reconcile this
Yeah.
between the appearances.
Sorry about that.
For me, I have sort of a visualization that helps me when I when I get distracted by the appearances and I start to feel anxious or sad or hopeless, I think of all of the beings on the planet as being cloaked in a costume, because we're trapped, we're sleeping, and we're dreaming, we're playing a character. And I look at all of the beings of the world and I imagine them all dropping the costumes, letting, just allowing the cloak to fall, and just seeing the light that they are, the truth of who they are, the truth of their being. So if I can look past the costume and the character that they're playing while they're dreaming, asleep, and unaware of their truth, then I can reconcile this. That's how that's the visual cue that I use to remind myself to see the truth.
Great.
To
Thank
not
you very
be,
much. I'm
yeah.
going to be away for a little bit. I have to go attend to something, but I appreciate that. I'll see
It
you
probably
back.
has 4 paws and a tail.
No, it's
Oh.
in a wheelchair right now.
Oh, Mom. Hi, Janet. Okay. Any other comments?
Yeah, I have a comment.
Yeah.
Just not a comment, but just uh, my thinking, earnest thinking on this is that uh, God made us in His image and likeness, and also gave us all self-will. We're not automatons, as Ernest, I recall, would say. So we all come into this world with that true essence, as if you will, innocence, and then as we experience life, fortunately or unfortunately, some of those experiences are surrounded by hate and unforgiveness and so on, that are instilled in the youngest people in those particular instances. And so they grow being unaware of who they really are and what their true essence is. Ultimately, many of those people do find that, and they change. So, at any rate, we live in a world, a universe of free will with choice, and so that understanding and knowing that, even though someone may choose on a path of uh, of hatred or whatever, that they're in their true essence, they still are made in the image and likeness of God, and so this individualization of spirit in us, and that all people are individualizations of the one spirit, is the truth, and knowing that. So that helps me.
Oh, thank you, Michael. You're absolutely right, because our essential nature is innocence. It is the pure light of consciousness. That's the truth of who we are, as we were created in the image and of light quality of the Creator. So, yeah. And to the extent that we know this, that we embody this truth, we are able to look at all life with the spiritual eye and see that innocence, that beauty. So the next one is, we believe in the eternality, the immortality, and the continuity of the individual soul, forever and ever expanding. So this is one that gets some of us tangled up, because for most of us, we don't have a conscious memory of what came before this particular iteration in time and space. Any comments on this one? So what we do know, what we do believe though, is that the individual soul and our consciousness, the Christ consciousness that is who we are, that is eternal and immortal. So, you know, in light of the fact that we all chose amnesia, if you will, when we came into body in this iteration, I personally feel that is a blessing. I am grateful to not have to carry with me all of the suffering that I'm very sure I experienced in other lifetimes. So I'm grateful to be free of that and to have an opportunity to be present to what is.
You know, I always like this whole idea of forever and ever expanding. And I think that as humans in our human mind, that we even know that our world is expanding, with our world and within is constantly expanding. Our minds bring us to that point. Sometimes it's just through desire, but that we're always expanding. So it makes sense to me that even through death, that of this body that we walk around in, or in the costume, as you say, that there is an immortality to our soul, because that's what's expanding within us. And I really like that idea, even though none of us really know for sure about immortality.
Yeah.
But I do believe that the more that we contemplate that, and the more that we visualize or come to some understanding about that, that's what will manifest for us.
Yeah. Thank you, Nancy. You're right. And this is where we stand on the solid foundation of our faith, right? You know, the things unseen, but we know it. We know this because when we read, or I should say, when I read these words and I really bring my attention to them, it resonates with me. There is a place in me that knows that it knows that it knows. At the same time, there's some things I could read that it doesn't resonate, and I know that there's just not, that's missing the mark somehow. But this, I know that place in me that knows is very sure. Okay, so we believe that heaven is within us, and that we experience it to the degree that we become conscious of it. So for those of us, probably most of us, who grew up in some sort of a traditional Judeo-Christian upbringing, we have some sort of a vision of the pearly gates, and that if we are of good report during our life, that we will be rewarded with entrance into heaven when we die. And this statement is setting that aside entirely, that heaven is within us, and we experience it to the degree that we become conscious of it. And I think this goes right back to Nancy, what you were reading earlier about that spiritual eye. So, engaging with life in such a way that we see the good, the true, and the beautiful. And then joy wells up within us. And in that moment that we become conscious of it, we are in heaven on earth. And I would love to hear what anyone else might have to think about that. Crickets, you're all thinking so hard. Nancy.
Yeah, I was gonna say, it's so funny how we can always think about heaven on earth when we're in a good space.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, but the moment we fall away from that or get into fear or anxiety or doubt, or loss even, we're not so sure that
Yeah.
that heaven is right here within us.
Yeah. Boy, isn't that for sure. And what I really enjoy reading about and hearing accounts and stories of near-death experiences. I know Sue does as well. I've watched a lot of YouTube videos about people who've had near-death experiences, and they talk about what it's like on the other side.
Raise your hand.
And
Yeah,
I find it just fills me with joy to hear those accounts. Michael or Pam, did you have something to contribute?
Yeah, I just wanted to stress the fact that the second line, if you will, as we become conscious of it, and that really applies to all these beliefs and principles, and to what we spoke of earlier in terms of the individualization of spirit and so on. So it's being conscious of it, it's becoming aware of it, and choosing it, and holding it, that that we can experience heaven within ourselves. So I think that's really key. I also wanted to, if I could, go back to the you believe in the eternality, immortality, etc., which I totally subscribe to, and especially with the passing of our son Jordan this last year, and I know others have experienced this also. So hold that to be definitely to be true. But I think Brenda, you were also talking about that as we come into this world, we don't have a memory of the life before, and so I know that Ernest did not believe in a reincarnation, although he left it open to those that do, and he wasn't judgmental about that. But from my point of view, I do not. I think we come into this world, and then we live our lives, and we are forever and ever expanding, rather than going, if you will, going into, if you will, living it again and dealing with, as Karma would say, the issues that we didn't deal with. You have another chance to deal with them in another life. So
Yeah.
I thought that was just important for me to say that for myself, so others would understand where I'm coming from.
Thank you, Michael.
Mhm.
Excellent. Okay. So this next one is, we believe the ultimate goal of life to be a complete freedom from all discord of every nature, and that this goal is sure to be attained by all. So the ultimate goal of life, complete freedom. I think this is peace. I think this is a perfect description of what peace feels like, to have complete freedom from all discord of every nature. And then the promise that this goal is sure to be attained by all. And again, it's very tempting, I would say, to be distracted by appearances, because the appearances certainly certainly are not of this experience, the complete freedom of all discord. But the idea that this goal is sure to be attained by all, if that's challenging to you, and it certainly is challenging to me, or it can be, I have to take a breath, and I have to go back to the basic understanding of oneness. If we are all one with the one, then this statement is absolutely the truth. It is sure to be attained by all. No one is left out. No one is excluded. No one is uninvited to this experience of heaven. So we also recognize that this goal may not be attained, or it may be attained at the very moment of transition, but it will be attained by all. Any conversation about this one? Nancy, I heard your
Like that. I'll go for that.
Okay, all right. Okay, I think we have another page.
Well, Pam,
I have a thought.
Oh,
This
yeah.
there was a great article in the magazine this month by Waldman and Nurburg, and they talk about how to change your idea about something and how to work with yourself. And they talk about the difference between what our brain does is our analytical mind and our intuition. Our brain is concerned with what's happening in the immediate future, in the outer world of effects. Intuition sees from that higher level of mind, of oneness. And so we need to get into a relaxed state where we're in that oneness and that higher consciousness, and then ask the question. And you have about 20 seconds before your brain re-engages and starts filtering out whatever wisdom you got from the higher mind. But the answers are there. And so we've got a lot of family drama going on these days. And so a lot of times when I use that exercise or something similar to look at that discord, I see that a lot of the stuff that I've been holding on to is concrete or needs to be dealt with and whatever. The solution, the freedom from discord, is at a higher level. And I can also see how what I've been doing or trying is contributing to keeping the discord in place, or support the shift. So it's that level of consciousness is so important.
Thank you. Yeah, you're absolutely right about that. And yeah, I mean, that's the level of vibration of where our ideas and where our thinking is absolutely contributes to what our experience of life is. And so this is only a partial list of the what we believe. I'm going to leave it here because I just realized that I want to make sure that we have time to work through our values list, which is the actual exercise that I really wanted to share today. And so I'm going to leave the what we believe. The rest of it, it is in it's published in the magazine. So if you have the magazine, you can read through the rest of it. If not, it's on the website at csl.org as well, I believe. So this list of values, this process, I was introduced to at the Big Sky retreat in Montana last year, and it really had a pretty profound effect on me working through this. Sometimes I love going to spiritual retreats and workshops, and I love getting inspiration and being invited to explore all kinds of interesting ways to see the world, I guess you'd say. And this worksheet itself, this list of values, is from Brene Brown. So that the workshop that I attended wasn't about Brene Brown, but her list of values is the perfect. I felt the perfect springboard for what I'd like to invite us to do. So instead of cutting pictures out of magazines and gluing them on tag board and putting it on the wall and visualizing around all of these beautiful things, which if you haven't done that, I recommend it. It is wonderful exercise, but this is really deeper work. So if you've looked at this list of values, you can see that it is alphabetical and that it goes through a whole bunch of value words that may or may not resonate with you. And so what I'd like you to do is to put a check mark next to all of the value words that resonate with you. When you read that word, if it rings a bell for you, then put a check mark next to it. And at first, when you start reading through the list, you might say, well, it's all of them. There isn't anything on here that I wouldn't want. But I will say that as you read through it, there's some things that are probably going to be less important to you, and some that are more. So we're just going to put a check mark next to any word that resonates with you in some way. And just to give you an idea, when I worked through this, I put 48 check marks. So you don't have to limit yourself to just a handful. I checked 48 different things on this list. Mm-hmm. And so we have about, how much time do we have, Nancy? Do we have
5 minutes?
We have 5 minutes. Okay. Oh gosh.
5 minutes or so.
Huh, where did the time go?
I don't know.
I don't know. Okay, so I'm gonna, if we only have 5 minutes, let's take 2 minutes to scan through the list and put some check marks. And also the invitation is to later go back and reconsider, and give yourself a little bit more time.
How many are there in all? Do you know?
I think there's 130, I think. If
Wow.
I remember, I didn't count them this time,
Okay.
but if I remember correctly, there was like 130. But the next thing you're going to do, I know you're still putting check marks, but the next thing you're going to do is you're going to underline of the items that you checked marked, you're going to underline 15 of them
Mhm.
that feel like they are primary values to you. And I know you haven't finished doing that yet, but at the point when you have underlined 15 values that you feel like are primary values, then you're going to go back and look at those and you're going to circle 5 of them.
Wow.
So we're going to narrow this down to 5 values that are lodestones, if you will. These are the values that are your North Star. And before you get all tangled up in the idea that you can't just choose 5, the next step in the process, which you're going to do on your own, is you're going to draw a line between your North Star, your 5 North Star values, and all of the other values that you underlined or check marked that are related or associated. So, for instance, one of my values that first got a check mark was love, and then it got an underline, and then it got circled. Okay, so I have love checked, underlined, and circled. But the lines that are being drawn to that are kindness and service, and there's a whole list of other values that that are related to and associated with love. So you don't have to feel like you're leaving out something that's really important to you if it's probably related to love or it's related to one of your other North Star values.
And there are 5 of those, right?
There's going to be 5 of them
5.
that are. And so I'll quickly share the ones that I arrived at after doing this work myself. And yours will not be the same. These are mine. Yours won't be the same, but they could be similar. I wouldn't be that surprised. My number 1 is peace. Second is love. Third is gratitude. Fourth is community. And 5th is wisdom. And so you might wonder how you can distill a list of 130 values into just 5. How do you leave all the other values out? Well, you don't. They're not left out. For instance, wisdom includes courage. It includes respect. It includes order. It includes truth. How could I leave truth out? I didn't leave it out. It's in with wisdom. Is this making sense to you?
Mhm.
Okay. So gratitude, for instance, includes financial stability. So you see how this works. Love
Right.
includes a whole bunch of things. Community was one of my lodestone values, and it includes contribution and cooperation and collaboration and diversity, integrity, inclusion. So the purpose of this work, of spending the time to hone into and crystallize and get really clear on what it is we're valuing, is that those things become your lodestone. They become your North Star. So as you navigate through life and you encounter challenges, and in some cases, you might even find yourself feeling at a place of indecision, like you're not really sure, you're not sure what to do. You're not sure how to respond. You're not sure what action to take. You can go back to your North Star, your lodestone values, and ask yourself, what would peace do in this situation? What would love do? How would gratitude show up? So this is why this is inner work. This is where we get very clear in our interior landscape about who we are and what we believe and how we show up in the world. And so I'm just going to take this to prayer. I'm going to, of course, invite you to spend some more time working through your list. And after, before, after our meeting after the service, if there's any questions that need to be clarified about how to, how you do the check mark, the underline, all that, you can put it in the chat and I'll try to clarify. But let's just take a breath together and let this peace settle on us like the beautiful blanket of snow to settle over us. To bring us home. For I know that I am home in the heart of God. With this oneness, the allness, the very essence of my being is one with God. And bringing this understanding into the full light of consciousness, I receive the gift of peace, the gift of joy, the gift of presence, and above all, love. I accept all of this, knowing this is the truth of God. And therefore, it is the truth of myself and of all beings. And from this place of understanding, peace reigns. There is peace. Peace beyond understanding. And I simply accept it as the truth of who and what I am. In gratitude, I allow this peace to inform everything I think and say and do. And I release my word into the law, accepting its fulfillment. And so it is.
Thank you, Brenda.
Thank you, everyone.